That would be disappointing if I didn't record. Okay, so welcome everybody. Week 5, get motivated, get focused. So this is our second last week, March 27th. Thank you so much for all of those that could join. I know that we're going to have a couple of people join us later. Some people that had messaged saying that they're going to have to watch the recording. All is good. So tonight we're really talking about those obstacles that you came with. I'm excited to hear what some of those might be, and then how to be able to overcome them. So review of our homework from last week. So last week it was about planning out the steps of your top 5, right? So really going through those 4 questions, the 4-question template to ask yourself, okay, so what is the end result that I want of this? What does that outcome look like? To really start to drive that emotional attachment to the outcome. And then really going through like, what's the next action that I take? What's the immediate next step that I take? And getting really, really specific. So we're not so specific with the goals, like, some of the goal models of the SMART objectives would ask us to be. What we do get specific with to drive the focus is in the plan. So getting really specific with that plan and keep to be able to work it. We had talked about some stuff about, being able to really reverse engineer, right? So if we're starting off with quite a large goal or a long-term objective, to be able to start to drill down so that we get to something that's happening, that we're taking maybe micro actions every day, but learning how to celebrate even the smallest actions, even if those actions are wrong, to continue to drive us forward. And Christopher talked in the Q&A this week about it, really about that, about letting disappointment drive you, about letting it change your emotional state, and to continue to find yourself motivated and refocused by drilling into your plan. So if you haven't had a chance to be able to watch that Q&A yet, I'd highly suggest that you go back and be able to review that. Were there any questions that came up on your homework? Anybody that had questions about the plans? Go ahead and feel that if you want to ask, just to unmute yourself. Okay, no questions that came up. Awesome. So, next week we'll be talking about, what happens if the plan is just so not working. We've talked a little bit about the flexibility, you go back and tweak, but we'll also kind of talk tonight and next week about if the plan's not working, or, you're just kind of reaching your wit's end, what do you then do? And some of the things that you need to consider then. So by all means, send me an email or anything if you've got any other questions on the planning part of your goals. Okay, so tonight the other part of our homework was about the types or the obstacles that would be in the way of your plan. And so does anybody want to give me an example of one of the obstacles that you thought of? Don't need to worry about working it through right now. We'll get there, but just maybe name an obstacle.
Hi, Carrie. I thought of like time and motivation.
Awesome. Time and motivation. Those are great ones. And we're going to talk about both of those tonight. Thanks, Michelle. Anybody else? Anybody else, just by a raise of hands, for those I can see, have time on theirs? Yeah. So time's a big one that I hear. We'll really dive into that tonight. Any other examples of obstacles that you came up with? Anybody there?
Oh, fear.
Fear, yeah.
Fear, like of success or failure.
Exactly. Those are great as well. So we'll talk about those, because I think it's funny that well, not funny, but people tend to think of fear of failure, but really that is a two-sided coin, right? That we've got both sides of that fear of failure and of success. So we can talk about that tonight as well. So I know one that used to come up for me all the time is I just can't afford it. I have no money. So that it was going to cost me too much, right? So money, resources. Awesome. Anybody else? Any other interesting obstacles? Okay. Good, good. Okay, well, we're going to go through different types of obstacles tonight, and then really we're going to start getting into the tactics of how to be able to overcome them. So by all means, anytime you guys have a question or anything, feel free to unmute yourself tonight, and we'll be able to dive in. We do have an opportunity to go through a little bit about how to plan for overcoming obstacles. So if any of you want to specifically work with your obstacles list, we can do that as well. Alrighty, so we've got overcoming obstacles as well. Okay, so types of obstacles. The first one could be my thinking. And Christopher really talks about cognitive distortions, right? So these are the internal chatter, the shoulds, I should lose weight, I should be further along, I should be doing this, I should concentrate on this first, or it's even false statements. And so, Michelle, this might fall into some of it of, the fear of failure, fear of success. So maybe it's telling ourselves false statements, maybe it's self-limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves. And even if it's fortune telling. So like, I'm never going to get a job. I'm never going to be good at this, so what's the point? I'm never going to lose the weight, so what's the point, right? So thinking that I've got the ability to be able to tell the future. So really cognitive distortions come into play when it's something that's absolutely out of our control. So it's concentrating on other people's roles and responsibilities, the environment's roles and responsibilities. Maybe it's some external factor. So all we have control of is ourselves. So, there are many people that talk about, change your thinking, change your life, right? Change your thoughts, change your life. There's more and more scientific data about how our thoughts can make us sick. Our thoughts, our negative thinking can actually impact our immune systems, our physical well-being. I wrote a blog for Change My Life Coaching, a blog entry that you can find on our Facebook page or even in our past newsletters about, are your thoughts making you sick? So I know for me, when I'm highly stressed, one of the symptoms that I can find really easily is that my hands start to crack. So I suffer from psychosomatics. When I'm stressed, my hands crack. And that's a way that my negative thinking or that overload of my thoughts can make me sick. So similar that, your thoughts can also become the obstacles to you being successful in your goals. So some of the tactics to be able to overcome is to be able to think of any negative or limiting beliefs that are getting in the way of you staying motivated and focused and getting the results that you want. And then to be able to change it to a more true statement. Okay. So in the example of, I am never going to get a job, I have to ask myself, well, is that true? Like, do I really think probably, the next 40 years of my life, I'm never going to get a job? Right? Like maybe I need to rewrite that statement in a sense of, I'm going to work on this skill so that I can get more of a job that I want. I need to be able to ask for help to get my next job. I need to be able to apply for a junior role if it's something that I'm still developing towards. So to be able to change that belief of never to sometime soon, to change, maybe it's to redefine what the job is altogether. So it's just making it more true instead of going into that fortune telling of, I'm never going to be able to achieve. Other false statements or beliefs of, I'm never going to be able to lose weight, or that thinking of I'm fat, right? And asking myself, is that really true? How can I make that a true statement to be able to start to develop the skill set, work on the emotions or the limiting beliefs that are holding me back from having a more positive, reinforcing statement for myself. So there is more information about this. Byron Katie works about this, writes about this with The Work, as well as David Burns writes a whole series on cognitive distortions. And there's lots from, being able to the manifesting, the dramatic, the like I had already talked about, the fortune telling. There's limiting beliefs. There's a whole lot of work that both of these authors do a lot about. So I just want to touch base on what Michelle talked about. So a lot of us have this fear of failure. And I used to think that I only had fear of failure, actually, that it was just because I was so scared that I was going to fail. And I suffer from a bit of perfectionism. And I don't know if any of you can relate to that, but so I really become all or nothing. So if I go to play tennis for the very first time and I suck and I can't even hit the ball, well, then I just quit it because I can't do it perfectly, so I'm done. So that would often happen with my goals too, not understanding that failure actually had to be part of the process. It was part about how we grow and how we learn. So I had to remove the fear of failure by just accepting that failure was part of it. And if you guys recall, I think it was in the first session that we had talked about traditional models or traditional way of thinking is this one point of success and everything outside of that was failure, right? And that we want to be able to reverse that thinking. So one point of failure would just be to quit, to stop trying, to stop moving down the road towards whatever success looks like. And that everything outside of that point would be success. So we celebrate actions, even if they're the wrong actions to take, because we celebrate the fact that we're learning. So if I'm failing, I'm actually getting closer to my goal. Now, there's a flip part to this, is that I've since discovered that I have fear of success. And some of it, for me at least, is that I have this fear of success because if I actually complete that goal, if I actually do what I said I was going to do, there might be an expectation on me that I'm going to do it again, or that I'm opening myself to a new capacity of achievement. And so for instance, through Christopher's Healthy Transformations program, part of it was being able to set goals around my health and some of the weight loss goals that I had. And as much as I have fear of failure, of disappointing others or disappointing myself or not being able to achieve my goals, I have a bit of the fear of success too, that it really means that I have to surrender, that I won't be able to eat the bag of Oreos that I really so badly want to eat, right? That I would have to let go of that. So some of it is, the compromise and sacrifice of our thinking, that we would actually have to be able to let that go and become the person that we are striving to become. So I think some of it is being able to turn over the fear by really asking myself, what do I have control over right now? And so that I know that my chances of success are higher when I'm following through with my plan, right? My chances of success are higher when I'm dealing with the fear when it comes up. And so when that fear of success kicks in, that I'm able to talk about why that fear is coming up and what does that actually mean. Does that make sense, Michelle?
I just wondered, curious, could you give do you have a practical example that you might have experienced through that?
Of the fear of success, fear of failure?
Yeah, like you said, what do I have control over? Like it's maybe could be, or someone else in the audience if they have some example.
So what I would say around that is I've only got control over myself. And so it's really what I do with that fear is what I've got control over, right? So responsibility is the ability to respond. So fear causes me to react. So if I've got responsibility or control over me, I can do something different than react. Does that help, Michelle? So when the fear comes up, then I'm asking myself, okay, so what's in my control? If I'm trying to fortune tell or control the future, not going to work, right? So it's in my power to do something in the now about it. So for instance, with health and wellness, I can have fear of not being able to reach my goals, or I can ask myself, what can I do in this moment right now about this? And maybe it is make a healthier choice about eating. Maybe it is about going to work out and follow through with my exercise commitments. But it's even usually fear of failure comes to me after I've already kind of fallen off track. So it's usually after I've already had the sleeve of Oreos, right? So in what we've talked about this far, it would be, okay, celebrating the fact that I've got awareness around it, because that's part of the action, right? Is that I created awareness. Okay, so I didn't eat the whole bag. I ate a sleeve. I know what I need to do about this. I need to get back on track. And so I can either beat the crap out of myself, right, which really is cognitive distortions, or I can ask myself, what do I have control over right now? So what I have control over is to put the bag of Oreos down. In fact, it's probably get rid of the bag of Oreos altogether by throwing it out. That's what I've got control, because I've got the ability to react different. And I can go for a walk or participate in one of those new healthy habits that I've identified in my plan for success, instead of participating in the negative, negating behaviors. Does that help, Michelle?
Yes, thank you.
No problems, no problems. So I highly suggest with Charles Duhigg, The Habit Loop, but also checking out the work by Byron Katie and then other works by David Burns. Okay. So this is the second other obstacle, is other people. So it's other people's thinking or allowing other people to get in the way. So maybe this is family, friends, coworkers, your boss, your employees, your spouse that maybe don't have the same goals that you do. And so it can be especially challenging. Like I said, if the goal was about losing weight or to be able to quit smoking, if like say my husband likes to eat Oreos, and actually I can tell you right now that my husband really likes to eat chocolate, and I'm not on sugar. So sometimes it is about that there's other people that are strong influencers in our lives that maybe not be on the same page. And so what do you do about that? And I'll tell you right now, and this is a real reality, is that 90% of your friends and family aren't going to be in support of your goal. They're just not. It's not important to them. So it's out of sight, out of mind. But it's even that there's a mirror reflection thing that happens as well. If I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to be mindful about what I'm eating, and I'm choosing not to partake in activities, and I have experienced this, that some of my friends want me to go out for chicken wing night, or they want me to go grab, some dinner on Friday nights. And because of my own planning, and I understand my own way of thinking, I've had to say no to some of those social engagements. So some of my friends have been like, what, you don't go out with us anymore? You don't hang out with us, Carrie? You don't do anything? And it's about me staying on track with my goal, and it's about me being able to say no where I need to and have some healthy boundaries so that I can stay focused. But I've had people talk to me about, well, it's everything in moderation. You don't have to, one chicken wing's not going to hurt you. You need to have a cheat meal once a week. And I'm not saying that anything's wrong with any of that. It's just not in line with my goal. So the reality is not all of your friends and family are going to be on the same page. So tactics to be able to overcome.
I think, Carrie, I was just going to make a point too that I've recognized with some of my friends that have been very successful, is that they mentioned too, sometimes the people around you don't want you to leave their space. They fear that if you become successful financially or promotion, that you may not want to surround yourselves with them.
Right.
Or maybe in a different lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is a great point, Michelle, is that there's a fear of you leaving them.
Yeah, exactly.
Leaving
but
you.
Instead of embracing you and saying, you're coming with me, we're all doing this together, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and it's even that we can get really, really excited about something and then be disappointed in our friends' response or our family's response that they're not, grabbing the pom poms and doing the cheerleader dance for us. But like you said, it can be out of fear of being left behind, or fear that if you achieve this goal, that you might not want to be around them, or you might not find use for them, or you might, be introduced to different people that you end up spending more time with, all of that, that somehow they'll be left behind. So that's a really good point. Thanks, Michelle. Okay, so the tactic to overcome is to plan your defense strategy. So just like we planned for how you're going to tackle your goal, it's about really planning a defense strategy. So when you start looking at new habit loops and we started inserting that new desired healthy behavior, that's part of your defense strategy, right? So I know that I am really triggered to spend a lot of money when I'm at the mall with my husband's credit card. And so if my goal is savings, my defense strategy is not to go to the mall. But sometimes you have to. Okay, like I have a 17-year-old that's graduating this year, and she needs to go to the mall to get her grad dress, and then there's shoes, then there's the accessories. So I have to go to the mall. It's part of what we've agreed to be able to support her for celebrating her grad. And so then maybe it's that when I'm put in a situation where I have to be in a shopping environment, that I carry only cash with me and I leave the cards at home. Or maybe it's that, I only take the one card, and I'm really strict and adherent about the budget. That my stepdaughter and I talk about what the budget is for shopping prior to going to the mall, so that there's no conflict or no kind of distraction when we get there. Does that make sense? So planning out your strategy. I think it's good to share your goals and share what your focus is. Because I think that you do need some of the troops around. And be able to have some support, especially when it's about creating that momentum to get focused and get driven. And so sometimes having the cheerleaders or even the accountability of that support, of people knowing what your goals are, helps. Ask for what you need and ask for what you want. Okay, so I know that I've got specific business goals that I want to be able to accomplish in 2017, and this really meant that I needed to sit down with my family and have an understanding of what I needed and what I wanted. So we talked as a family about where we wanted to be at as a result of my business, and so then we needed to talk about what did that actually look like. And so some of it was the flexibility. For instance, I'm online right now. I'm in my home office. My 3 kids are upstairs. They know that if they jump around and everything else, everybody's going to hear them online. So they make sure between the hours of 5 and 6 that they're entertained, and then they get mom time. So we take care of everything that we need to take care of before 5 so that I'm able to focus here, and then they get all my energy afterwards. So that's part about being asking for what you need and what you want, and being able to set those boundaries. So take responsibility. They're my goals. They're nobody else's goals. Nobody is going to do my goals for me. Nobody's going to be able to do them for me. So at the end of the day, it's got to be up to me. And so I've got to learn how to hold myself accountable. I really think that the key to success is being able to master the art of self-discipline. And discipline is not punishment. It's about being the best person that I can be just for today. And so I hold myself accountable to mastering the art of self-discipline just for today. Learn how to say no. And this is challenging, especially if I can be a bit of a people pleaser. I can take on more than I can chew. I like being responsible. I like being able to take on different challenges. but I've also had to learn how to be able to delegate for those of you that are business leaders out there, as well as I've had to learn how to be able to say no. And I think that this is also hard for parents as well. When you get into, I go and take care of my children, and I want to be able to, I have parental responsibilities, but I take care of my kids and I'm running them back and forth, and I can get lost and distracted by that because they need things. Of understanding that if my bucket's empty, or my own carry house is out of order, I can't transmit something that I haven't got. And so I'm a better mom, and I'm a better friend, and I'm a better sister, and I'm a better daughter, and I'm a better partner, and I'm a better business owner when I'm taking care of me first. And so that's going to require me to say no to others and say yes to myself and say yes to my goals. And so that leads us to the end here of being able to set boundaries, right? So, my son is only 7. And so I've had to explain that it's not that I don't care about you. It's not that I don't want to, hang out with you. It's not that I don't want to have time. It's just that I have to be able to focus and get this stuff done first. And so if you can give me X amount of time, then we'll be able to spend some quality time together. So it's just learning how to set boundaries. And I've had to set boundaries at the office too. I don't know if any of you know Kyle and Christopher, but they're very demanding guys. No, I'm just joking. But I've had to be able to set boundaries too, that there's, I'm only one person, and I'm not a superhero. And so I can only take on what I can take on. And so sometimes I've had to ask for points of clarity about whether it's quality or quantity, right? And then be able to set that boundary for myself. I pride myself on, and I thrive on being able to deliver high quality work. And so to be able to set the boundaries that support that goal. Anybody have any questions about obstacles when it comes to other people? Okay. And so I've got just another note here of sometimes we're fearful of the judgment of our goals, that people will think, well, that's just ridiculous, or that you're never going to be able to achieve that, right? That there's going to be some form of judgment passed on our goals. And really that ends up being a cognitive disorder as well, right? Because the distortion of what's in our control. So I can't control other people's opinions about my goals. They can think that they're ridiculous or silly or too demanding or whatever they want, really. At the end of the day, they're still my goals. Okay, good. The other thing that I wanted to mention too is, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but on April 6th, we're doing Mastering Difficult Conversations. And so if this is an area that you guys struggle in and you want to be able to learn some tactics and some strategies about how to master difficult conversations with, maybe it's your employees, maybe it's your boss, maybe it's your significant other, maybe it is your children or your parents, to be able to learn some of those strategies, we've got a workshop available that I'll fill you in with more details afterwards. Okay, so this comes to Michelle's other suggestion of the motivation. Okay, so staying motivated. So you'll recall that motivation is an emotion. Okay, so it's not a habit, it's an emotion. And so if we want to be able to stay motivated, we're going to have to change our emotional state. And so it's learning tactics of how to be able to do that. I've got certain things that I do to be able to change my emotional state and get me motivated and get me focused. Of whether that's I've got dedicated personal development time. So I listen to Audible audiobooks that are self-help books, or it's business leadership books, or some type of personal development. I listen to those really while I'm brushing my teeth, while I'm driving my car. I listen to that a lot. I've got specific playlists on my phone that I listen to when I run. And it's to accomplish my goals for distance, but it's also to accomplish my goals for the time factors that I have with my runs. So specific tempos that are connected to certain songs keeps me highly motivated and focused on accomplishing that goal. There's some other tactics to be able to overcome this or to be able to become more motivated. So it's not about waiting to execute. And I'm not sure if any of you watched after we had done session 1. Graham had posted on the Facebook page that video clip about motivation, which I really quite like. But she talks about that she's got a 5-second window, and that most people have this 5-second window, and it's a 5-second decision window. And in fact, some people's is probably even quicker than that. That if once I have a thought that I need to be doing something, or I need to get onto an action item, I have about 5 seconds before my mind takes over and tells me, no, you're fine. Just sit down and relax. You can take a couple of minutes. So don't wait, but execute. Execute now. Waiting for the perfect time, never going to happen. Waiting to be able to master the skill and be perfect at it, never going to happen. To start is to better than mastering perfection. So just to be able to execute on action. So look for quick wins. I did this lots when I quit smoking, right? That, awesome. I was able to get through, my whole morning routine without having a smoke. I was able to get through a whole work day without having a smoke. I was able to get through that really stressful situation. So being able to provide myself quick wins, it helped with with my brain's reaction of reinforcing and that new habit that I was forming. But also, as we get quicker results, we tend to be more motivated, right? Just tends to elevate us. Understand that pain versus reward. So this was also in that video clip, but a lot of people have talked about it too, is that nothing grows from comfort, right? So our mind is, back when we were cave people, right? We had this flight, fight, or freeze syndrome for a reason. It kept us safe. It was a survival mechanism, right? It was so that when a saber-toothed tiger was charging at us, it would shut down everything else and just concentrate on making us run away, right? But it was all about survival. It was all about avoiding pain. And so our mind is still very, very much like that our brain still goes towards those thoughts. So it's got to get uncomfortable. In order for you to grow, it's got to get uncomfortable. Our brain will keep us in, well, you could go for a run, Carrie, but you might twist your ankle. It might hurt your calves. It might hurt your legs. Your breathing is going to quicken. And, what happens if it's really hot and you end up getting heat stroke? Like, my mind is going to go through all of this stuff. And there is a saying about successful people and unsuccessful people have one thing in common. They don't like doing stuff that causes them pain. They don't like doing stuff that makes them uncomfortable. But the difference between unsuccessful people and successful people is that successful people will do it anyways. They'll go ahead and do what's uncomfortable or what's painful to be able to get that reward. And so by keeping focused on our why, like we've talked about for the last couple of weeks, that's the reward. And then you can get through the pain. Anything that you can wrap your mind around. We talked about accountability, right? So sometimes when they're big, hairy, scary steps, I take an accountability partner with me. When I'm sharing my goals and I'm sharing what my focus is, I'll ask a source of strength for me to be able to, help me stay accountable to being able to get it done. Sometimes the accountability is, that I'll plan to meet a running partner down on one of the trails or one of the routes that I run, because I'm not about to stand somebody up, right? So it gives me more accountability to actually go and meet them. The account, I don't like, one of my drivers is not money in the sense of that I need to have all the money. I just don't like wasting money. I've got a lot of scripts around around not wanting to waste money. And so if I go and buy a bunch of groceries that are really good for me, like healthy foods and vegetables and broccoli and cauliflower, to watch them rot and have to throw them away pains me quite badly. So sometimes the accountability is just to make sure that the fridge is stocked, knowing that I'm going to have to eat those so that I don't waste the money. And then we talked about changing state. So this could be the playlist. It could be, Tony Robbins, one of his ways of whenever he got paralyzed by fear, he would literally, it's called mind tripping. And so to shake the negativity or the negative thoughts that he had about that would drive his fear of you're not good enough, it's not going to be good enough, you're never going to measure to anything, he would snap himself out of that mind frame by screaming, I have smelly feet. And it was just enough to distract that he could change his pattern of thinking, right? So I don't know if you really want to do that, but just saying, if it worked for Tony, might work for us. Okay. Okay, so this is the big one. Money and resources. So by far, the two most common excuses that I have ever used and that I always hear. The clients that come to see Christopher and I would say that I hear this 100% of the time. So these ones don't shock me. So I'm going to walk you through something that was pretty cool for me to see. So everybody, I need you to have a piece of paper in front of you. Okay. And I want you to write down the number 168. Okay, and this represents the number of hours we all have in a week. Okay, so we all get 24 hours a day. We all and that's regardless whether we're beggars or whether we're billionaires. Everybody's got 24 hours a day. Everybody's got 168 hours a week. It's how you use them that's important. And so let's say that we're all really good sleepers and we get the recommended 8 hours of sleep a day. So that's 56. So I want you to do 168 and we're going to subtract 56 to represent our sleep. Okay. And we're pretty friendly people, let's just say, and we like spending time with our family. And so that's one of our priorities, to be able to carve some time out for our family. We have to drive to and from probably our offices or out to meet clients or whatever. And we eat 3 meals a day, just to let you know. We eat 3 meals a day. And so let's subtract another 42 hours for family, commuting, eating, kind of those in between tasks. So that's a lot of time that I've just given us, isn't it? And then let's do 40 hours for work. Now, sometimes you do a little more, sometimes you do a little less, whatever, that we've got another 40 hours of work. So does anybody know what the answer is to that? That would be 30, just to check my math for a sec. 30 hours we got left over. So don't you think that it would make a big difference if you used 30 hours a week to pursue your goal? And so I'll even give you this. Even if you used 6 hours for Netflix binge watching, you would still have 24 hours. Even if, you had extra projects with work that ended up giving you another 10 hours, that's still 14 hours a week, right? Wouldn't it make a difference if you even spent 10 minutes a day? So we're talking about an hour and 10 minutes a week on your goal. How much of a difference would that make in your goal? So like I said, we all have 168 hours a week. And I tease my clients that we all have the same amount of hours as Beyonce does, right? And she only had 168 hours before all of the money and the fortune and the fame and the personal chefs and everything else, right? So, it's how I utilize those hours that's more important than anything else. And so when I started using this formula, I was able to see that there was so much time waste, right? There was so much that I ended up, I even had time waste of sitting around in indecision about how I was going to spend my time, that I was able to do that. So one of the things that I suggest that you do is to be able to like really start tracking your time, right? I don't know if any of you have where I've worked in when I was working in HR. I did workplace observation studies or job duty observation studies, and it was literally we'd sit there with a pen and a paper and a stopwatch, and we time people how long it would take them to do activities, and then you start to set up the environment to be more productive, more efficient, more impactful. So if that meant that they were taking 10 steps to the printer, if I moved the printer over 2 feet, now they're only taking 8 steps. I was literally making them that more productive and efficient in their job, right? Manufacturing plants are this is their game, right? So track your time. How are you staying on task, right? Are you using your time wisely? There are a ton of apps. And I only use one example there of Pomodoro. And Pomodoro, it gives you, for those that are visual, you can time your tasks. It gives you a set amount of time to be able to work on something. It gives you a break, so that supports adult learning objectives as well. An adult brain can only absorb information for an hour before it starts to feel fatigue, and it needs a rest. And so a rest can be literally just maybe taking a mindful minute. Our eyes need the rest of being able to look away from computers at long distances for a second to readjust our focus. So taking some form of a break activity there, and then being able to dive in. And then you get this nice little graph at the end of the week of how productive you are and how mindful you are in spending your time. I talk about it like eliminate distractions or time wasters. Okay. So one of the other apps that is for any of you that are all over social media or are one of those that have multiple tabs open on your internet, and then you hear a bing and then you need to go respond to it, all of this stuff. There are actually like Facebook page block or feed blockers, like apps that you can download that will block out your feed altogether, and they'll only unlock during certain times of the day. There is, there's some extreme apps out there as well that you can get them attached to your smartwatches and stuff like that to be able to vibrate or when you've been idle too long or sitting idle. So. And then time wasters too. It's about working smarter, not harder. So being able to find systems that work. I don't do well with time schedules. I work better with block schedules. So I use different color blocks to tell me what I'm working on at a glance. So I've got time to be able to look at email or do admin responsibilities, and I've got time blocked off or chunks of time blocked off in my calendar. It's just an easier way for me to do it. Same thing with my coaching hours or when I need to do follow-up calls or activities like that. So I just find that it's quick and it's an efficient way for me to glance and know exactly what I'm supposed to be working on. Okay, so for money, money can be interesting. I think that this is also just like we waste time or we can become distracted or not using time wisely, we can do the same thing with money. So I think it's about asking you, look at what not accomplishing is costing you. Okay, so maybe it's I can't afford a membership, or I can't afford I can't afford a gym membership, or I can't afford a personal trainer. Well, what is it costing you of not accomplishing your goal? So is it, if you're not investing in your health, usually you're investing in your illness, right? If you can't afford to take care of yourself, eventually you're going to have to be able to afford the medicines, or the medical care needed to be able to address your health issues. So look at what it's costing you to not accomplish it. And then it's looking at different ways, becoming resourceful. I think I told some of you that, I participated in, or I'm still participating in Lent. And this one was, for me this year, was not to participate in consumerism. So the kids have become creative of how they can be able to, earn money or raise money to be able to participate in stuff that's outside of our basic needs. So it's been using those scene points to be able to go see movies. Is what we've been doing. It's been selling some of the excess stuff that we don't ever use, and so that kind of stuff can become really creative, of being able to afford the money or the resources to be able to accomplish your goal. The other example I can give you is that I had Darius and I wanted to be able to do Disneyland. We wanted to do 7 days in Disneyland. We also wanted to do, California Adventure, some Legoland stuff. And it was expensive, but I wanted to stay at a hotel that was Disney. And, so some of it was a lot of research. And I went on Pinterest and I researched cheap ways to do Disneyland, but be able to get it all. I learned about fast passes and how to jump lines. I found out that I could actually do some good neighborhood hotels to get discounts, and they were right across the street from Disneyland, and they still had theme rooms. So it just took some extra research for me to do to be able to do my budget. When I got married, we didn't have a very large budget for the wedding. I didn't want a big grandiose wedding anyways. But it was about, instead of a dinner service, we did lunch service, because dinner service was $36 a head. Lunch service was $11 a head. Exact same meal, just different time of the day. So that we were able to just become resourceful and brainstorm some options. So I just have there's a comment up here for 1 sec. So Michelle has asked, does anybody have any ideas to save money or generate money while working on a goal? So by all means, feel free to be able to tap in there for that. And Michelle, add that onto the Facebook community group afterwards too, just to see if there is some. I love it when people are also able to contribute it to the brainstorming ideas. So I also know that this year we're for vacation for the summer. The kids and I are doing a garage sale to get rid of the other stuff that we still need to get through in this house, to be able to have some extra spending money, stuff like that. And I can tell you, even to start my coaching practice, I took contract work in HR. I didn't particularly like the work or feel very motivated to do the work, but I changed the perception of that it was just funding the dream. That's what it was. It was just funding the dream, and it was about being able to pay bills and pay towards some of my marketing initiatives and stuff like that to be able to get me going. Sorry, let me do that again. Yeah, the last point here is about having a professional review your finances. I hands down agree with this too. There is a lot of different types of professionals. I mean, there's chartered accountants and stuff like that that can be able to look at your money. I know I'm very grateful for my accountant this season to take a look at my tax returns and different things that I could be able to qualify or be able to to claim, but there's even people that will like review your electricity bills and your other utility bills. You can take your bill to your cell phone bill or your communications bills to providers or even their competition, have them be able to review your bills, see if there's other ways that you could be saving money. There's definitely financial professions that specialize in this area of being able to get you organized financially. And so by all means, if any of you want to inquire about who some of those professionals are or some of those professional services, just send me an email or send me a message afterwards. And I know that Christopher, Kyle, and I would love to be able to connect you with some of our referral partners and some of our networks of people that specialize in this. Okay, any questions about those two besides Michelle's question, which I just want an opportunity for others to be able to help with the brainstorm too. Okay. So anybody have anything on their list that kind of wasn't covered in those types of obstacles? So maybe it's not about planning on how to overcome, but other types of obstacles that we missed that wasn't on the list. No? Did I manage to capture all of them? Okay. Okay. So just like we had planned for your goals, I think it's important, like we talked about, to plan that defense strategy, plan how you're going to overcome your obstacles. And so, just like, Michelle being able to reach out and ask for help of, hey, what's the other, options that I could take a look at, for brainstorming of money achievement. I'd love to hear too if anybody's got productivity tips or, any type of time saving resources too. Please email them or drop them onto the Facebook community. Because like I said, those are the two big ones, the big common ones. Okay.
Carrie, I was just going to make a comment, something that I do, and it's kind of like a little game to myself. So I write down like on a little piece of paper, 5 or 10 things that I want to accomplish in a day, and I draw them out during the day. So I never know what's going to be next, but each one, some are not so fun, some are really fun, but it's just a way to I entertain myself.
That's awesome. No, I think that's great. And talk about changing your state too, right? About that you're just obligated to get whatever you've pulled.
Exactly. And some of it's even like okay, now you can make a cup of tea or, whatever, phone a friend or.
Yeah. So kind of a mix and match, right?
Yeah.
And and I know that, thanks, Michelle, that's great. I've written that down for myself. So, and I don't know if any of you have gone through Christopher's strategy sessions or been able to spend some time with Christopher, but he talks about, kind of making a list of activities that kind of put you in your peak state. So stuff that you really like doing that starts to drive your motivation, drive your focus, but also make a list of, kind of weak state, like stuff that we don't particularly like doing. So I like collecting the money from my tax return. I really don't like putting together and reconciling all my receipts and everything else. But to Michelle's point, there's a couple of authors that talk about eat the frog first. So do what you don't like to do first to get it out of the way, right? But I totally like that, Michelle, of drawing and almost having an entertainment factor there. I think that's awesome. Anybody else have any questions about overcoming obstacles? Okay, it's great. Good. And so, like I had talked about with one of our obstacles of overcoming with people, being the obstacle that's getting in the way of us accomplishing goal. Tonight, I wanted to be able to extend a gift. So on April 6th, we're doing Mastering Difficult Conversations. It's being held from 8 to 4:30 at the CREB, which is on Manning Road. And so this workshop is really for people who struggle with difficult conversations in the workplace with a boss, maybe it's a coworker or one of your subordinates. They can't seem to create effective communication at home with their spouse, with a child, or a parent. You know, I am part of that compressed generation that I'm busy at home caring for my own young family, as well as being able to assist with my parents, but I also have a niece and contributing all over the place. So it's really important that I've got effective communication skills at home. And sometimes there can be challenging conversations around with where I spend my time. Avoid conflict, or maybe you experience anxiety when you have to have a difficult conversation. I've been there a number of times as well. Or you spend time talking to everybody but the person you actually need to be speaking with. And this is also a great workshop for people that are in toxic personal or professional relationships. So we're really going to be, working through different strategies of understanding what productive conflict is, that conflict's not always a bad thing, about how to be able to talk to the different personality styles. When managing conflict, we're actually going to be working through some difficult conversations of being able to find our initial words, how to sort out our emotions, how to be better listeners, and then have some an opportunity to work with those conversations and kind of role play them out. So it's Christopher Lawrence, Kyle Kalu, and myself hosting this event. So we've got all three angles that are represented here up on your screen, being represented by our different coaching practices. An opportunity. So regular price for this workshops right now is $250 a ticket. Our early bird was $125, but for you guys, my friends, as a gift to you, it would be $80 to be able to register by the end of the week. And so really simple registration is that you go to Tough Talks, TOUGH Talks, .eventbrite.ca, or you can even go to changemylifecoaching.ca to our event page. And the discount code that you want to use is capital MDC 2017, and that will give you the discounted rate of $80. So I'd love to see you guys there. I hope that you take advantage of the gift. We've got one more week left. So next week will be really about wrapping up these concepts. It'll be about the next amazing steps that you're going to take with your goals. And it's going to be about how to be able to move forward. So homework this week is just to come up with a plan to overcome each obstacle that you've listed. So the recording of this will go up tomorrow. So if you need to be able to go back and review any of those slides with the types of obstacles and some of the different tactics, like Michelle is going to do, put it up in the Facebook community group. This week's Q&A, we'll talk more about obstacles that come up. So shoot me an email if you've got obstacles that you're just really stuck with. How do I overcome this? How do I start to plan a defense strategy on this? Sound good? Awesome. Good. Any questions before we go tonight? Okay, great. Thank you so much, everybody. Have yourselves a great week, and I'll see you in Facebook on the Q&A on Thursday. Take care.
Thanks, Jill.